So, good evening, everyone. I am so glad to be recording this presentation tonight. It's the first time I've taught from vision to vitals. It just seemed natural and important following the vision board activities we did at the beginning of January to follow up with some practical steps that you can take forward to see your vision come to life. And so what I'm offering tonight is really important and really fun, but I'm not even going to go there yet because I need to, for my sake and the sake of people listening to this, give you a couple of introductory notes and a disclaimer as we get started. So first of all, just know, for those of you who I'm not familiar to, I was a teacher, trained as a teacher, so this comes really naturally to me. I'm not going to be using a screen the whole time, so bear with me on this part. I started my Young Living business when I was a single mom working as a public school teacher in part-time hours and needed money to pay for my son's soccer cleats, is what I always say. And what started as something like a little side hustle hobby turned into my main income stream for the last 10 years. So I feel super blessed by that. Gosh, we're going on 11 years. I retired from education. I feel really, really blessed by that, but more so, I feel inspired by the vision that my mom cast at that point, which was, do you want to live your life by default or do you want to live it by design? And so that began my journey of being home while my kids were in school. Now they're graduated and on to their bigger and brighter futures. And so I'm getting back into some of the presenting I was doing prior to being their mom. And part of that is also due in large part to going through the grief and sorrow of losing my mom in November of 22 to cancer. And that's created a deeper passion for me in the same way that she took that on in her perimenopause journey, helping other women find healing, spiritual centeredness, and peace. And just by way of shouting out, I'm always grateful for your little notes that you send me. In fact, I shared one on Instagram today with the details cleaned out. But I'm always grateful to know that there are others that are learning alongside me. I really consider this a journey that we're taking together, and not something that I consider myself an expert in, but I'm learning. I'm learning in honest authenticity and faith every step of the way. As a matter of disclaimer, I just share this, that I am a spiritual care provider, and as such, your safety is my number one priority. So I always tell folks this when I'm getting started working with them, either in groups like tonight or one-on-one. And that is that there is a mandatory reporting law that I am also bound to. And if I believe that a minor or a vulnerable adult is a victim of physical abuse, I have to call the local law enforcement agency or Child Protective Services. Since many of the people I work with are adults, I'm always listening for those kinds of things. And some of you and I have had those conversations where we want to make sure that you get the resources that you need. Yes, I'm using plant-based products to mostly recommend. Yes, I'm using somatic healing and emotional clearing and things like that to help you get a better handle on kind of what's happening in your body, mind, and spirit. But at the end of the day, your best resource is your own healthcare provider, whether that's mental health care, physical health care, endocrinologist, hormone provider, whoever that happens to be. Just know that what I'm sharing tonight is not a replacement for proper medical advice. So just wanted to get that out of the way. I love that we're starting this here in January. I've had some pushback from some other friends who said, haven't you heard the latest research, Ange? And that is that we're to hibernate in January and February, and we don't need to start planning for the future until March or April when the spring comes. And that's great when you are on a cyclical seasonal schedule. I don't know about you all, but it was 75 degrees here at home today. I walked outside in the sunshine in a t-shirt and shorts. And I'm in a season where I do choose to grow. And not always do we find that in correlation with the seasons like winter, spring, summer, and fall. Sometimes seasons come because of things that are happening in our lives. For the longest time, my family, my parents, my family of origin actually functioned on a school schedule. So our start of the year was August because that's when school started. So January was kind of like a mid-year checkpoint for us. So it's just depending on what business you're in, depending on what your personal schedule is, depending on when you take your vacations, right? Seasons happen and seasons can change. There could be kind of a rolling along pattern, and then something can like stop you in your tracks, whether it is a grief-striking loss of a person, of an opportunity, of a way life used to be, maybe the birth of a grandchild, which is a good thing, but also comes with its own set of things, or aging parents is another thing that a lot of women in midlife face. I know there's a ton more, but without getting into all of that, it's not, we're really good at setting the vision, right? I found as a population of midlife women, we're really good at setting the vision for what we want. And then life tends to happen, just like we were talking about in those seasonal shifts. And it's not because we're not committed. And it's not because we don't want the vision to happen, but because somewhere between the dream and the doing, we may hit 3 invisible walls. We may feel overwhelmed and not even know where to start because it doesn't even seem possible to think about next September, much less March. We may feel depleted and already exhausted. How could I add one more goal or one more thing to think about? Or we could have some confusion set in. What if I pick the wrong thing? What if I focus on this and it's really supposed to be this? Did I really understand God's voice when he said, start this business? And then I haven't been able to do anything with it. What if I've let somebody else down in the process of pursuing my own goals and vision? Any of that sound familiar? Yeah, we run into these roadblocks all the time. So tonight really isn't about adding more to your plate. It's just really about getting clear on what's yours to carry and what you can finally release. So we're walking through the very first 2 steps of the clarity method. That's my new thing, our clarity path. We'll have to take a vote when we're finished. Do we like clarity path or clarity method better? But what I've done is over the course of the last few years, I have been kind of cultivating all of the lessons that I learned from my mom, really intentionally, about how to make the most of life when it gets flipped upside down. And a lot of it I've done on the fly because out of necessity, right? She died. I was left with her resources and literal files. Like I'm sitting here tonight holding her handwriting and words in my hand because I want to bring forth the best version of myself, even though I'm missing my number 1 cheerleader, even though I'm missing the person who believed in me most and taught me everything I know, most of everything I know. She was also very, very humble and would say to me often, I just want to go where you're teaching because I always learn something from you, Ange. And that was a really beautiful reverse shift for us as adults, for her to be taking away wisdom from me as her protege. In fact, the letter that's in here in her handwriting actually says, I don't know how much longer I can give Ange all my advice. She just rolls her eyes at me. I was 16 years old when she wrote that. And I love looking back at evidence that we all grow up. Thank you, Mom. Okay, so hopefully you all have a copy of the Clarity Companion because we're going to start at the very top of that. It is downloadable. Let me send you the Dropbox link in the chat. And for those of you who are watching this on replay, if you can't find it, I'm going to put it in the show notes of the YouTube video, but just in case, I want you to make sure you can get a hold of it. I used it just process-wise. I've sent it via my email stream. I've also refreshed some content that has it in there for people who haven't been on my email string yet. So this Dropbox link takes you directly to it. The other links that you're going to find are going to like re-enter you into my email. I just don't want to miss anybody. So I have people saying, oh, I really want to join that. Can you tell me when it is? Yes, join my email list. Everything is there. I will show you how to do that. Okay, so this is what the Clarity Companion looks like. And this is a little bit of the story in the first introductory page, just a little letter from me to you. You can read that at your leisure. We're going to start at the top of page 2, which is the first step of the Clarity Method, pause. And this is where I said when I was making plans for tonight that we were going to need 75 minutes because I am literally setting a timer. I don't have the cute kitchen timers that my parents had. In fact, we found one in the garage this weekend, and it was so broken. There was no way I could revive it. And I thought, well, I think we're gonna just use new technology. So 10 minutes on the timer, and I'm going to tell you about this in just a second. Before we can move toward anything new, we have to take time to tell the truth about where we actually are right now. So many of you have seen a basic wheel of life before. It's been around forever in coaching. Zig Ziglar gets some credit for creating one of the first ones. But you can rate different life areas, see where things are out of balance, and then identify what specifically needs attention. So this is where I've made this wheel a little bit different, because to me, soul care isn't competing for space on the wheel. Sometimes you've seen the wheel of life and spirituality is a wedge, right? And then your sense of how you care for your body, how you approach your work, how you give and receive love, how you steward your time and money, and how you discern your season actually is born out of your spiritual understanding. And I think that's a really key shift because it's less about what you're not doing. Like, well, if only I prayed harder or more, or had more Bible studies to attend or better ones, somehow that would complete my spiritual wedge. Does that make sense? My faith wedge. And I would feel good about that area. Well, what if we flip that and we put the spirituality at the hub? And then every decision that we make, from our legacy and giving, our relationships, our health, our career, comes from that lens of being a faithful and spiritual person. So this becomes now the life alignment wheel, that when our values, our energy, and our sense of meaning come from the flow from God's source, it's less about what we do and more about who we are and who God is co-creating us to become. So this isn't just about balance of the wheel. This is about living in alignment with how you are purposefully working through and toward your goals, period. So if you'll turn to this part of the life alignment wheel, and I have it here in case you don't have it printed out, you'll see the spokes that are radiating from the center. They don't need a lot of explanation. If you have questions, put them in the chat. But here's what I want you to do. Excuse me. First, we're going to rate each area on a scale from 1 to 10. So you can see I did a little bit of that for myself over the weekend. 1 to 10 on each area. And it may be that you're more visual, so you color in like the portion of the wheel that you feel like it gets, or you give it a numerical value between 1 being depleted, strained, or unsustainable while at this level, or 10 being deeply nourished, aligned, and thriving. Don't overthink it. Just notice what's true for you today. Not what you want it to be, but what's true for you today. And I'm going to try to play the music and see if it plays while I pause. And I'm going to set my timer. I'm going to give you about 4 minutes because I'm breaking this into sections tonight. Oh, and I also have an app on here. I could use the fancy timer on here. About one more minute. Don't rush. Okay. So now take a look at your wheel, and you can use the notes that are on the side of your worksheet or wherever you're journaling the information that you're gathering. Circle your 3 lowest scores to start. Your 3 lowest scores. I want you to note that these are not failures just because they're the lowest scores on your wheel, but they are your energy leaks. Isn't that a better way to think of them? This is where perhaps your energy is pouring out, places where you're already running on empty, or to use my famous metaphor, infamous metaphor at this point, you're pouring from an empty cup to try to reach those 3 lowest score areas. Take a deep breath and just ask yourself internally, or make a note of these to ask later. Are there places I've been pretending that things are fine? What's been quietly draining me that I haven't named out loud? And what surprises me? Here's what I know to be true. Building a vision can't be done on top of depletion. Building a vision cannot be done on top of depletion. There's no way to manifest your way around burnout, grief, confusion, overwhelm. And there's really no way to positive think your way out of exhaustion. So by naming that to start, it shifts how we can see the visions that we're crafting for ourselves this year. I'm curious if any of you are having some aha moments. If you would put those in the chat just for privacy reasons, then you don't have, like, you can share them privately. And I can call them out. Just what is one word maybe that you're noticing through this process? What's maybe one word you're noticing through this evaluation, this pause? Depletion, exhaustion. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the quietly in the background. Thank you for those words. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to name those things. We haven't even gotten to the feelings part, y'all. It's okay to notice, right? Even here at the very beginning, we have good intentions. We have good vision. We have a lot of stick-to-itiveness. It's how we've gotten this far. Like, we didn't raise children without a little bit of gumption, right? Like, we got through a really hard season. So what's wrong now? And I want to make sure we're not saying this is a failure, but it is an energy leak. That reframe to me is everything. Like, what can I do to stop the leak? It's also perhaps because we're living out of alignment. Yeah, a lot of juggling, a lot of feeling unaccomplished, worn out. Yep. But when we're living out of alignment with what really matters to us, we have to go back to what our core values are. So if you look at your clarity companion, I've only given you a handful to start with. But again, take the next couple of minutes. I'm going to put another list up that's more complete. I just didn't put all of them on there. I had room for a handful. But you can also Google core values if this doesn't work for you either, but I'm going to give you a big list. I want you to take 2 to 3 minutes and circle the 5 values that feel the most true to you right now, not the ones you think you should value, and not the ones that look good on paper, but the ones that make your soul say, yes, that's me. And I'm going to share this again. Let's see. Here's a few more. Does that help give you let me make it bigger. Gives you a few more to choose from. Take a couple minutes with this list and pick out 5 values that feel most true to you right now. That's been about 2 minutes. Can you give me just a raise of the hand if you need a little more time? Okay. So now look back at your wheel, your life alignment wheel, and ask yourself, are any of my low scoring areas actually violating one of my core values? Or where am I living someone else's values instead of my own? So for example, maybe rest is one of your core values, but your body score is a 3 because you've been hustling to meet someone else's definition of success. So having a high core value of rest and not prioritizing it for your own body is out of alignment. Another example might be if connection is core to you, but your relationship scored low because you've been too busy checking the boxes instead of just being present. That could be a misalignment of values with your priorities. And perhaps creativity, got my craft girls on here, perhaps creativity is a high core value of yours, but somebody says, we don't have time for that. This other thing has been priority. So your fun or joy section is depleted, right? Because someone told you that play is frivolous, or you're in a season where someone else's needs are more important than that part of who you are. So it's out of alignment. It's not that it's not important or that you're failing. It's just, it's just out of alignment. So when we pour energy into things that don't align with who we actually are or who we're becoming, that is the cause of our depletion. So therefore, the depletion is data, and it's showing where we've abandoned ourselves for a season or for this time or in this moment. This is what's causing our exhaustion. So in the first part of the clarity method, and in week 1 of my program, Anchored and Aligned, this is where we have to stop pretending and start listening, not just to identify the problem areas. Now we are connecting them back to our values, and not just the ones we inherited from someone else that said they should be this way, or this is the priority in which you're supposed to live your life, or this is how our culture does it, or our workplace does it, but the ones that you embody, or that are underscoring the vision of who you are becoming. Because we don't need another productivity hack. We have all of those, right? We can show each other, like, I can have the right calendar, I can have the right highlighters to tell you what I prioritize, I can have the time management all figured out. But the women I work with don't need a new tip or a tool. They just need a safe place to rebuild that alignment within itself, which is why this has been so effective over the last couple of years for so many people who've come to programs I've led, because it's the consistency of habit that we achieve based on aligning our values and our priorities through the lens of our soul care. In week 2, or in step 2, then we're going to go even deeper, and we learn how to use the values as a filter for every decision we make. So you're not just reacting anymore, you're releasing and responding. So you're really getting clear about where your energy is going. But now we're going to look at step 2, which is all about the feelings and our thoughts about the feelings and our body's response about the feelings, which is something many of us have not been taught to do well. And this is where I owe a lot of credit to my parents for being master's level school counselors who brought their learning home to us each and every day, and why I rolled my eyes at my mom, because we were her guinea pigs for her entire life's work. So what we are going to do in this next section is we're going to start naming what we actually feel, not just what we think, not what we should feel, but not what sounds spiritual or acceptable, but what we actually feel. And I'm working with a bit of a different different feelings wheel than I've used before. I pulled this one from the Calm app because a lot of people are familiar with that. This is the feelings wheel from Dr. Gloria Wilcox. And it's just very simple, but it was also in black and white, which I really liked. I know it's super small. I had to get out my readers and magnifying glass for it as well. If you need a bigger one, it is online, downloadable as a PDF, but to fit in here, I shrunk it a little bit. But in the center, you'll see 6 core emotions: happy, sad, angry, fearful, surprised, and disgusted. And then she also added in one called bad. I just feel bad. Because sometimes we don't really have more to say than that. So that's a good starting place. But like we've talked about, many of you, I know, Mickey, I'm with you. So with you. You should have seen the first version. It was even smaller. And I was like, nope, nope, not that one. So, but I had to get my little woman in there too. Okay. So anyway, as you move outward on the wheel, the emotions get more specific. So more nuanced and more true, because I'm fine or I feel bad isn't enough of an emotional name. Even I'm stressed probably isn't specific enough. But if you start naming overwhelmed, resentful, frustrated, annoyed, now you're getting somewhere, because we can't release what we haven't named. And most of us are walking around with a low grade hum of unnamed emotion, maybe anxiety that we call busy, sadness we call tired, anger we call stress. Are you with me, women? We know this, right? Like, we've got it. We've got it. It's fine. It's just stress. It's just overwhelm. But underneath those emotions is something much deeper. We're carrying weight we can't even see because we've never slowed down long enough to look at it. So this is your chance. This is a guided reflection through the feelings wheel. So I'm gonna guide you through this one step by step. First, scan the wheel. And this is how I did it for myself the other day too, because it may not have anything to do with what you just did, right? It just may be kind of in this moment, this is how you're feeling. What emotions feel most present in your body right now? Whatever it is, circle it. That's how I did it. That way I could see them better, Mickey. That was my trick. I was like, oh, if I highlight it, then I can see the word better. Or if I circle it, then it stood out to me differently. Or write them down on a separate piece of paper if you need to as well. Is it any better in color for those of you who can see this? Nope, that's very small. Now here's where it gets even more powerful. Using the body silhouette on the page, where do you feel these emotions in your body? And you can circle them or point to them. I use little arrows on mine. Do you feel tension in your shoulders, tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, or heaviness in your legs? Perhaps your body is trying to tell you something. It's been carrying this for you, sometimes for years. Now write this in the note section. What am I afraid will happen if I let myself fully feel this feeling? What am I afraid will happen if I let myself fully feel this feeling? Because often we don't avoid our feelings because we don't know they're there. We avoid them because we're scared of what will happen if we actually let them in. If I let myself feel how angry I am, I might explode. If I let myself feel how sad I am, I might not stop crying. If I let myself feel how scared I am, I might fall apart. We know it's true that feeling won't destroy you, but suppressing it will. I've used the metaphor before of the waves of grief, the waves of sadness, the waves of fear, the waves of anger. However, you have to think about emotions as temporary responses, such as a wave crashing into the shoreline and then being pulled back out with the tide, and then crashing into the shoreline and being pulled out again. That image is recognizing that there is a flow and a release. There is a crash and a release. There is normalcy to our suffering and to our discomfort and to those difficult feelings. I ran across a note from my mom this weekend, and it's so funny because I'm putting my own spin on it because it's phrases. And I didn't know even how to share it with everyone. So it's literally just a photo I took on my phone now. But she says this: a feeling is the union of our thoughts and emotions. So when we feel the feelings, we are actually bringing together the emotion and the thought in the same time and space. So one of the things she wrote was, we can only invite it into our lives when we breathe the power of our emotion. Because if we keep pushing it off, it's like trying to hold back the ocean. These are two energies that then meet within our hearts. Similarly, you've heard me speak before about offering ourselves self-compassion. This is a practice made relevant by Dr. Kristen Neff. You can find her work all over the place. But it has three main parts. And the first part is just recognizing it stinks to feel this way. This feeling of loss, of grief, of sadness, of pain, of annoyance, of frustration, of loneliness is a moment of suffering for me right now. We also then capture that we are not alone in how we feel. There wouldn't be names for how we're feeling if we were the only ones that felt it, right? We wouldn't have an entire wheel of nuanced feeling without others being in the same boat. So by recognizing that we are not alone, that we share humanity and share experiences with all of the world, it grounds our emotion, our moment of suffering into a truth, a global truth, is that humans suffer. Biblically, we know that humans suffered from the moment they were created. Darn apple, darn serpent, darn Satan, right? We brought suffering upon ourselves from a biblical standpoint. So it's part of our humanity. But the most important thing we can do after naming our suffering and recognizing our shared humanity is to speak to ourselves as if we were talking to a friend. So I like to use essential oils with this. Dr. Perkis calls this an aroma reset. I think an essential oil is great to use with this. My lemons are fresh right now, mint, rosemary, all of it is blooming. Whatever it is that just helps stimulate your sense of smell. You can place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. And you can inhale for the count of 4 and hold it. And as you exhale, you can say to yourself out loud or silently, this is my moment of suffering. This is hard. I'm not alone in this. I deserve compassion, not criticism. Let's do it again together. Take a slow, deep breath in. Hold it at the top. This is called box breathing. And as you exhale, say, this is a moment of suffering. This is hard. And I'm not alone in this. I deserve compassion. And then on your own, a slow, deep breath in. And an exhale. I choose compassion. You're not broken because you feel things deeply. It's just more evidence of the beautiful woman that you are. And this is brave for naming what you know to be true. So this is a snapshot of the work that we do in step 2. Very familiar to those of you who've been doing micro planning with me the last few years. We're not just going to identify the feelings and walk away. We're going to learn how to metabolize them and make them healthier for our bodies so that we feel them, we honor them, and we release them without letting them run our lives. So we can use somatic work, breath work, aroma freedom, journaling, things that help move the emotion through you instead of stuffing it down. Because I'm going to guess stuffing it down is not getting you the results that you want. And it's certainly not making the emotions go away. And when we bring together the thought and the feeling with the intention, we can breathe it out of our bodies, at least shift it. Because the women that I work with, those beautiful faces you see on this screen, they're done pretending like everything's fine. They're the ones that are going to show up and tell you exactly how it is and what's real. Because feeling is healing. And that's just what we've come to learn living with school counselors all my life. So hopefully walking through the first 2 steps today gives you a parameter, a starting point for your vision for 2026 or for this first quarter. Hopefully it's giving you a sense of more to kind of unpack, so that the photos and pictures and things that you cut out, words and phrases, aren't just nice, pretty things, but have rooted meaning for you based in your life alignment, based in your core values, and based in the way you want to feel. Those 3, I think that those 3 things, having clarity on those 3 things alone in those first 2 steps helped me walk through the darkest parts of my life, because I wasn't willing to just push them away and pretend like they didn't exist. I embraced them and I integrated them into my everyday living so that I had, so that I could make the best decisions for myself in that moment. I can remember, it's been 15 years since my divorce, the end of this year. And I was thick in it 15 years ago. And I remember saying to my mom when we were working on vision boards that summer, I said, how do I craft a vision? I don't even know what tomorrow looks like, much less next year or the next 3 years. And she said, you just start. What are your values? Where are you? What's your lens? What are you looking for? And how do you want to feel? And that's where I began. So that's why I offered those first 2 parts to you tonight, because I'm hoping that puts some wheels on the vision that you pasted to the board or created on the digital board for yourself. I want to take you through the rest of the plan as kind of an overview, because I know some of you and some of the folks that are going to watch this on replay are waking up in the mornings feeling depleted and stuck. I know that your calendar may be full, but your spirit feels dry. And if you've created a vision for your life for this year or the next few years, you're secretly wondering, will I ever actually get there? And so I want to extend this invitation, because I'm doing this a little bit different this year. Let's see. And I'm calling it, if what we did tonight gave you a glimpse of clarity, imagine what 6 weeks of this kind of support can unlock for you. So the container is called Anchored and Aligned, and it is created for midlife women who are feeling depleted, in body, mind, or spirit, or all three, so that they can start living intentionally. And it's a 6-week coaching experience for women that are ready to reclaim energy, clarity, and focus. And it's going to start February 5th, actually, is the Thursday. We're going to meet from 12 to 1:30 in the afternoon. Taking a nod from my working women who are like, can I have counseling over lunch? I was like, why don't we do a 6-week session over lunch? Why does this matter? Because you're not here because something's wrong with you. You're here because you're looking for something steady, something soulful, and something sustainable. And I know that these steps are going to provide that for you. I've created this based on everything we've done together over the last couple of years, especially for women who are feeling depleted in body, mind, and spirit. Maybe somebody who's tried surface level solutions, but never kind of stick to it. And then also someone who knows that there's more than burnout at this age and stage. So the clarity path in full starts with pause, moving from what we just did tonight, getting honest and assessments to stop pretending about what our attuned presence looks like and figure out how to stop those energy leaks that we identified earlier tonight. Release is naming what's not ours to carry, and perhaps letting go or shifting some old emotions and old emotional patterns with compassion and not force. Learning to recognize our own emotional weight as well as our nervous system regulation and begin to put it down. Week 3 then goes on to practice discernment. And to me, discernment is different than deciding because it involves God's presence. So this is where striving stops and listening to divine wisdom begins. So after releasing what no longer serves you, you create space to receive divine guidance and reconnect with your soul's quiet knowing. So that place in your life that is God speaking to you through scripture, through prayer, through insights that are gained in those still small places. Oops. And fourth level is select. I think I'm going to go back to choose, but choose the goals then that really like drive this home for you. Like where then do you put your energy after you've discerned what makes the most sense to focus on next? Because now that you've realigned, you're creating a soul-led 3-month roadmap that fits your energy, season, and capacity, and not someone else's idea of success. So this also comes with a Q&A session to deeply integrate everything that we've put together, so that you're really finding yourself focused and focused on the things that will move the needle on what has been stuck for a long time. And the 5th step of the clarity method is to sustain the patterns and habits that you're starting to form. And I want to reiterate, because a lot of you are in my nutrition program, which is also called the 14-day reset, or the new strategies from product support in Young Living that are habit-based, lifestyle-based. And I want to say that unless you are clear that that's something that's in line with the values, like the energy that you want to keep up with your grandkids, or the focus that you need to do well at Mahjong once a month with your buddies, or whatever it is, we don't always think about the things that we need to do to sustain ourselves in those habit forming goals. And that's why it's easy to get off track. So we'll talk about and we'll plan for holding boundaries with people that we love, with grace, also staying connected to what matters, and how we can build rhythms that help keep us grounded, even when life shifts and speeds up again. And then of course, it's always the integration, making sure that you feel like your spirit is aligned and anchored once again. So what you're going to walk away with, the women that choose to be part of this group: a personal values map that guides your choices, a 90-day soul-aligned roadmap that you'll actually use, spiritual rhythms and reflection practices, a daily flow that restores your spirit, God's quiet guidance you can trust in a community of women that are walking with you. It comes with 6 weekly live group coaching calls on Thursdays at this point, aroma freedom sessions for those emotional releases. That's an option if people want to take part in that. I've also extended out the workbook. So the 6-page document that you have is sort of the mini version of the clarity method. So the workbook is actually aligned and anchored, and it's complete with my resources. So you don't have to go look for them in a million places. We'll have a private community in our heartbeat group, which gives support between calls, as well as voice message back and forth with me on a weekly basis or on a daily basis. I respond to those on weekdays more likely than weekends. And then lifetime access to all the replays and workbooks, but those will be private. So we'll have more open sharing than we did tonight so it won't be a public view. It'll be a private view just for the women in the cohort. The schedule starts February 5th and goes through March 12th, Thursdays, recordings available within 24 hours. And then the Aroma Freedom sessions will be the last Thursday of the month. In fact, the next one coming up is Thursday, the 29th. So if you get in before that, you can join us for the the January one. There is an investment of $597 when it's paid in full. Or 3 payments of $199. I am releasing an early bird special of $100 off for paid in full with the code early bird. And that's only going out to people on my email list and you all who are hearing this tonight. But I'll keep that early bird code available through midnight on Friday. So if you know that this is something that you need in your life, and that this is speaking to you and this makes sense for you right now, I would love to talk with you more about how to get you started. So let me know if you have questions. I do have a landing page, which sounds really official. It's just something I made in part-time hours behind the scenes. But you can go to my website at angelalayman.com/anchored-aligned. And all of the information about what I just shared with you is there, as well as the link to sign up. The link takes you into Heartbeat, so that then you're added to the cohort, which is different than the monthly subscription that people have right now. And I do have a limit on this for 12 women to join because I want it to be relatively intimate for our group together. So you may be asking, is this really for me? Like, is this for me right now? Is this for me later? If you're feeling a little stirring and your inner yes is rising, trust it. Maybe you're ready to move from burnout to clarity. Maybe you are looking for support, but not perfection. I don't promise perfection, y'all. I'm here for consistency and showing up. Maybe you are desiring a rhythm or heart-centered process over hustle. You're choosing to live with soul-led intention and you crave community instead of comparison. I'm just blessed and pleased and tickled and grateful that so many of you who've walked with me and taken a chance on what I've offered the last 3 years are here on this call tonight. It just makes my heart so happy to know that there are women showing up for this work because we are not stuck. We are not behind and we are not broken. We may not have all the answers, but we just need the next right support. And for me, I'd love to walk this forward with you because this new season probably requires some new rhythms, some new grace, and new clarity. And clarity is a skill that is built, not a gift. It's something that we can align to. And there's all of your beautiful faces. That's the other reason I was glad y'all were on, because